I have occasionally referred to the Bionicles as robots. And generally, when I say Bionicles, plural, referring to the creatures, I'm referring to the Matoran, the Turaga, and the Toa. To me, that's a Bionicle. It just feels right. They are not referred to as this in lore. Actually, nothing is referred to as a Bionicle in lore. That word doesn't mean anything to these people, except in the intros of certain books and the intro narration of, I think, the one movie. Oh, yes. And when they form the Kaita, right? It's the blue, the white, and the green ones, the ones that correspond to Kaita Wairuha. And they combine their elemental powers, to make, it's an airless, magnetized vortex of sound, which they blast Wairuha with, and that's what defeats him. And I think that doesn't make any sense and sounds like a contradiction. I don't think that sound waves would be aided by being combined with a vacuum blast, but I mean, I guess what do I know? I can't form a Kaita. So he gets on the Usanui, and it goes vroom, and it just goes down some tunnels. Holly I think she like stows aboard it, down through a bunch of tunnels, to a big door, and it just crashes right into the door and explodes, demolishes the door. Takanuva jumps off it just in time. I guess this is what it was supposed to do. Seems to have been intentional. Holly is fortunately not obliterated in the crash, so this is Makuta's lair. This is where he's been stirring up all this trouble from. Takanuva goes in. Good thing we spend 10 billion widgets every year funding these Vaki so that they can brutalize people that don't show up to work on time and do nothing about this plant monster gradually devouring the city. There are 6 great discs. They have power level 9. Where do they come from? I don't know. They just exist mysteriously. Prophecy, I guess, says that 6 Matoran will know their location. The Rahaga are Norik, Iruini, Bomonga, Kualas, Pokes, and Gaki. The Rahaga, in particularly Norik, tells the Toa Hordika that he believes that there is a certain special Rahi that has the ability to transform them back into regular Toa. And all of the other Toa Hordika are like, yes, let's do that. And Vakama is like, hang on, our first priority should be rescuing the Matoran, and this will cause a rift between them. They only sent Toa in these canisters. They would do it in groups of 6. And they're like, well, why didn't you do it in 7? Because then there'd be the 7th one who's there to defend against the Great Trouble. And they're like, well, if you don't have the 7 Toa, then there's no great time of trouble. The 7th Toa appears in times of great darkness, therefore only have 6 at a time, and then there's no darkness is going to appear because the prophecy couldn't be fulfilled. I guess it makes sense. Anyway, yeah, he's got 6 canisters here. That's why he's telling them that. Jala is like, all right, you say these canisters will kill us, but like it's our only way out, so we're going to use it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. But we got to go get Holly. Meanwhile, Zaktan tries to flee, but Irnak, he like absorbs Zaktan into his mind. So Zaktan goes into Irnak's mind, and he's in like his brain, and he's like seeing his brain from the inside, and Irnak is thinking at him like, you're in my mind, little Paraka. You're lucky I'm thinking about you right now, because if I were to stop thinking about you, you would cease to exist completely, even as a thought. So Irnak eventually just lets Zaktan back out into the world, deeper into the pit. He wants to show him something in the pit. He brings him to a cell where there is like a dead, shattered body of a Toa. It's a Toa of water. Matoro's like, what is this? And he's like, listen, I need you to use your Trina, bring this Toa back to life. And he's like, who is she? And he's like, don't worry about it. Just do it, or I'll kill you and all your friends. And Matoro's like, well, all right, you drive a hard bargain. So he brings this Toa back, and she's not herself. Like, she's not really back to life. She's a zombie. She's mindless. And he's like, okay, now we gotta go on a little errand. So they leave the pit with this shambling zombie. The backstory to this Toa of water: more than 3,000 years ago, so before the Toa Dark Hunter War, in Metru Nui, including Takua. He is actually an Avmatoran. He was an Avmatoran the whole time. He used to live here in Cardanui, and some of these guys even remember him and, like, wonder where he went, actually. Whatever happened to old Takua? 60,000 years ago. So this would have been 40,000 years after these memories and visions that Takanuva is receiving through this Kritana. There is an event called the Time Slip. There is exactly 6 months that nobody in the universe remembers what happens, and there are no written records of it anywhere. So Trinuma and Vezon get to Destral, and Trinuma just lets Vezon get captured. He, like, gives Vezon some fake information to give to the Makuta, but I'm pretty sure he actually gave him, like, real information, knowing that Vezon would betray him and try to give them real information instead of the fake information that he was supposed to give him. So he actually ends up giving him fake information, thinking that it's real, or something. Whatever. He gets captured and brought before the guy in charge of the fortress of the Makuta right now is a Makuta called Tridax, like the Tridax pods. But it's unfortunate because so many of the Avmatoran have been turned into Shadow Matoran by the Shadow Leeches. But guess what? Incredible luck, Mutran has been whipping up some Rahi, insect Rahi called Clack. Actually, we saw Clack before. There were a bunch of Clack flying around in the chamber where Makuta Miserix was being held on Ardedax. Not sure why they were there, I guess as a line of defense, because the Clack have a sonic scream, but it has a side effect that it basically cures Shadow Matoran. It just does that. And Tren Krom is like, so you want to take down Pterodax? Well, I have an idea, but you might not like it. And Lee was like, I'll do anything. And so Tren Krom switches bodies with Liwa. So Liwa is now inside of the big gelatinous tentacle monster trapped inside this island, and Tren Krom is inside Toa Liwa, his body. He doesn't have his air powers, but he's got everything else about him. You know, obviously Liwa is freaking out. He's like, oh no, I'm a monster and I'm trapped on an island. Like, what am I going to do? This marks the final, one last time that a air Toa gets to be mind controlled. It's a proud tradition that they carried all the way through to the end. And we have a completely different culture from our cousins, the Southern Voroks. The Southern Voroks, in the desert, they lost their ability to speak and they degenerated into beasts. We're kind of ashamed of them. We Northern Voroks, we're still cool, we still got it, but we're a little bit savage. We're going to release you into the woods and hunt you for sport. It's just what we do. We love it. We love killing. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. I'll give you a 10-minute head start. Get going before we kill you. Actually, it says they take them to the city